Supply chain benchmarking, best-in-class performance. That's what we're talking about this week and why it's important to know. Coming right up. So we've got a few videos on the channel about benchmarking. This week I just wanted to kind of give you a quick overview of why benchmarking, and particularly understanding what best-in-class performance is quite important. So I'm going to put a couple of graphics up while I'm talking here. So first of all, what is benchmarking and why should we do it? Benchmarking is a very simple process, simple concept. It's measuring our own performance against the performance of others performing a similar task. So for example, let's say I'm mad enough to enter a 100-meter sprint. And I'm very proud of the fact that I can run 100 meters in 20 seconds. How do I know if that's good or not? How do I know if that's a good speed for my age? I have to benchmark my performance. So I have to find out what sort of speed do people run of my age. Is that good? Is it bad? I don't know. And it's exactly the same with your supply chain. You might be measuring your supply chain performance, but if you don't know the performance of other similar supply chains, you don't know if you're good, if you're bad. And why is that a problem? Because so many organizations have supply chains that are performing here without realizing they could easily be performing at this level or even higher. And what does that mean? Better customer service, lower costs, and so on. So it's really important if you're managing a supply chain to understand what your level of performance is and how that compares to other similar supply chains. So let me put up this chart, and we call this a cloud chart. And what you're seeing with that cloud in the middle of the diagram is plotted. We've benchmarked, I think, well over 1,000 businesses. And what you're seeing, let's say you're an electrical products distributor. And what you're seeing on this cloud is all of the supply chains that are similar to yours behind that cloud, and it's showing where the range of performance is for supply chains like yours. And on this particular chart, we're seeing company X is up towards the top right of that cloud. That's a good spot to be, because if we look at the axis, what we're trying to do is to get a low cost on the y-axis, and on the x-axis, I've just got to read this, make sure I'm reading it correctly, we want a high service. So we want to be top right. So we want lower cost and high service. So you can see there's a massive spread on that cloud, isn't there? The company being benchmarked here is doing fairly well. They're kind of towards the top right. But it's interesting when you benchmark your performance year after year after year, you can track yourself sort of moving up that chart and seeing how good you are compared to similar supply chains and to your competitors. So that's why benchmarking is really important. If you don't do it, you're really not sure what the opportunity is to improve. Now let's have a look at something which is really counterintuitive. And I've shared this chart a couple of times on the channel. What we're looking at here is from all of our benchmarking databases, we're looking at the supply chain cost as a percentage of sales across different industries. And what we can see here is two different groups. So we've got pharmaceutical companies, we've got manufacturers, we've got suppliers to retail, we've got distributors, people like that. And what we're seeing here is that we've got a best-in-class column. So if we look at pharmaceutical, that's under 3%. Their supply chain cost, best in class, is under 3% of sales. If you then look at the average in that industry, it's about 7%. So let me just repeat that so we're getting this. So this is pharmaceutical supply chains as an example. The average operates at about a supply chain cost about 7% of sales, but best in class under 3%. How is that? And I should point out that those best-in-class companies actually provide a higher level of service. That's the kicker. So they're operating at almost half the cost and they're providing a much higher level of service. Just think about that for a moment. How can that be? That the best-in-class organizations in every industry that we've benchmarked for the last 25 years, the best-in-class ones providing the best service do so at almost half the cost of the average in their industry. Okay, can you think of why that might be? Let me share the reasons. Number one, they get it right first time, every time. They are so passionate about getting service right. They focus on the service, and they know that if they get that right, their costs will actually reduce because they're not getting any rework, they're not getting returns, there's less expediting. So it's really important to get things right the first time around so you don't have to waste money fixing it up. That's number one. Number two, they really focus on the detail, these organizations. They're passionate about service, and every little step in the supply chain, they want to get it perfectly right. And with that kind of focusing on the detail like that, they can't help but see where the excess cost is creeping in, and they can improve the process and so on as they go along. The third one is really neat, and it's all to do with the price-service relationship. What happens when you start providing much better service than your competitors in your industry? Firstly, is that you'll start to attract more customers. That's natural. They want to follow the better service generally. What can then happen is when you're recognized as providing the ultimate service in the industry, you can actually sneak your prices up. So not only are you getting more customers, you're generating more sales, you can actually then start to increase your margins as well. Because the service is so good, people are willing to pay a little bit more for it. So that's the beauty of it. This is why benchmarking is so important. You've got to understand your performance compared to others in your industry. Are you behind the eight ball? Are you one of the best performers? And you want to be heading towards that best-in-class performance because you will deliver much better service at a much lower cost. So there we go. That's the importance of benchmarking, and that's why it's important to be in that top 20% of every industry, which is called best-in-class. So thanks for watching. If you have any questions on this, do ask down in the comments below. There's loads more videos on the channel about benchmarking, so have a look at those. I'll try and remember to put some links down there as well. Thank you for watching, and see you next week. Bye for now.